आणि काय ग कमी तुम्ही काय समजा फक्त बोल खाण्यासाठी आलात का? मी माझ्या मुलीला आशीर्वाद दिले त्या घराचा उंबरठा ओलांडली बाहेरचा प्रपंच सांभाळायला. तुम्ही पण आशीर्वाद द्या.
Good afternoon, students. Welcome to Standard 11 Biology lecture. They will start with the lesson number 1, that is living world. Students, because of pandemic, this year also we are having 25% reduced syllabus that has been deleted. 25% of the total syllabus has been deleted in practicals also and in theory also. So soon I will be sending you the deleted part of the syllabus. Okay, and in this lesson number 1, that is living world, we are having one article, that is basic principles of life. Article 1.1, basic principles of life. And when I'm taking the lessons, I will be telling you that which part is deleted. Okay, so we are having only 1.1, remaining all is deleted. Articles are deleted in this lesson. Living world. Biology is a branch of science that deals with living organisms and their vital processes. Biology encompasses diverse fields including botany, conservation, ecology, evolution, genetics, marine biology, medicine, microbiology, molecular biology, physiology, and zoology. See, so many branches are there. Okay, so we have said that it is a diverse. There are diverse fields in this subject, that is biology. Now, what is an organism? Organism is any living thing that has an organized structure. It can react to stimuli, it can reproduce, it can grow, it can adapt and maintain homeostasis. Right? The characteristics of living organisms: cellular organization, metabolism, growth, reproduction, that is stimuli, sense to the stimuli, that is consciousness, okay, that is ability to sense the environment, self-replicating and self-regulation. So these are the unique characteristics of any living organism. Now further we will be studying that these characteristics, are they really defined to living only? Okay, so I'll take one characteristic and I will tell you that. Then, life can be defined as a unique essential aggregation of molecules with metabolism leading to growth, reproduction, and adaptation. Then biologists have established that living things share 8 characteristics of life. 1, presence of cells. Every living individual, every living organism, or every living thing has got cells. They respond to stimuli. They maintain the stable internal conditions, that is known as homeostasis. Then metabolism takes place, growth and development takes place, reproduction is that change over the time. That means as per the this thing, natural selection, we can say they change, they adapt, that is okay, and organization is there. Okay? So these are the 8 characteristics of life that is present or that exist. Next, growth. It is an irreversible change, right? What is development? What is growth? It is an irreversible change. It refers to the increase in mass and size of a body, right? Development, it is the process where a particular organism not only grows physically, but acquires mental and physiological growth as well. All living organisms have capacity to grow. It is the increase in number and mass of cells by cell division. You are familiar with these words: growth, development, etc. Okay. Growth of an organism has 2 characteristics. One, it increase in the body mass, and the other one is increase in the number. In plants, growth occurs continuously throughout their lifespan. But in case of animals, growth is up to certain age only. Only what happens if there is any injury, any cell is lost due to injury, then only cell division occurs and it is replaced. Okay, and non-living objects grow by accumulation of material, that is increase in mass on the surface. Like for example, if you keep some stones, okay, you keep some stones, you just arrange them in such a way that it looks like a mountain. And just giving an example, like you make killa during the Diwali, killa tumhi kartat, isn't it? So that you keep on adding certain things on that, so to increase in the height or to increase in the size, right? This is also a growth, right? So therefore, we cannot say that growth is the proper or it is the defining property of living organism. Students, what we know that growth is only in case of living creatures, only in case of living organisms. But here we see that even the non-living objects, if you keep on adding the things to that non-living object, it will also increase in size. And an increase in size is what? It is the growth, isn't it? So we say that growth cannot be taken as a defining property of a living organism alone. So if you get a question on growth, like explain or give reason that growth is not the defining property of living organisms alone, then you will write these points. Clear? Just a minute. Yeah. Next, we'll take up reproduction. In living organisms, reproduction means the formation of new individuals from their parents. Okay, but many organisms do not reproduce. Why they do not reproduce? Chances are that they may be infertile. Okay, or we can say the gametes are not fertile, so they cannot reproduce. Other thing is that when there is a male donkey and a female horse, the resultant offspring is the mules. And mules are infertile. They cannot reproduce, but it is a living organism. I hope you're understanding. Worker bees, they do not reproduce. Infertile individual cannot reproduce. So how can we say that reproduction is the characteristic of living beings only or of living organisms only? There are living organisms. We come to the conclusion that reproduction is not a perfect defining characteristic of living organisms. If you get a question on that, give reason, then you will have to mention these points. Okay. Next comes the metabolism. Now, metabolism we study under two heads. One is catabolism, where the molecules are broken, and then one is anabolism, where the new molecules are formed. Okay. So all the chemical reactions taking place in our body come under metabolism. All the chemical processes that occur within a living organism in order to maintain life is called metabolism. It includes two processes. One is catabolism and other is anabolism. Now here, the difference between the anabolism and the catabolism. You can see this. Anabolism, as I said you just now, involves in the synthesis of complex molecules from simpler molecules. Okay, and this requires energy input. That means to combine the simple molecules to form a complex molecule, synthesis of the complex molecule, energy is required, right? This is known as anabolism, and exactly opposite to that, where the complex molecule is broken down into simpler molecules, right? And here the energy is released. This is known as catabolism. Now see here the difference. If you get to write, this is the definition of the anabolism and catabolism, and here is the difference between the two. What is anabolism? It is the sum total of constructive processes, and this is the sum total of destructive processes. Why destructive? Because the complex molecules are broken down into simpler molecules, and the ultimate result is during this process, what happens? Energy is released. And here, when they are when the simple molecules, they are forming the complex molecule, energy is required over here. So we say in this condition or in the process of anabolism, energy is stored, right? Second point, complex substances are formed from simpler one. And here simpler substances are formed from the complex one. Then anabolism is required for growth and maintenance. whereas catabolism is required for performance of the activities. Why performance of the activities? Because when catabolism takes place, energy is released, and this energy is utilized for the purpose of the or for the various activities going on in the body of an individual. Okay, so we say that catabolism is required for the performance of the activity. Here, so this is the difference. If you get difference, you should make two columns and write it. But see that first you're writing anabolism or you're writing catabolism. Okay, otherwise you will interchange the points also. Understood? So difference is always to be written, making two columns, and it will come for 2 marks. If it comes for 2 marks. Next, cellular organization. The next characteristic. All living organisms are made up of cells performing all functions in the organisms. Cellular organization gives all functions of life like metabolism, growth, reproduction, etc. And non-living things do not have a cellular organization. Now understand the difference, student. Cellular organization is seen only in living organism, whereas the non-living organism does not show any cellular organization. Therefore, we say that cellular organization is a defining characteristic. Till now, we saw that it was non-defining. Okay, because that characteristics of growth, it takes place even in the living as well as in non-living. So it was not a proper defining characteristic. Whereas cellular organization is seen only in living organisms. Therefore, we say that it is a defining characteristic of living organisms. Right? Next is the consciousness, awareness of the surroundings. What do you mean by consciousness? That if anybody gives any stimulation, any external stimulus is there, so the response coming in place of this stimuli, after getting the stimuli, is known as the consciousness. Okay, in simple language, we call it as of surroundings. It is present in living organisms. Human beings sense through sense organs. Plants respond to external factors like light, temperature, water, etc. In both plants and animals, photoperiod, that is duration of light. What is photoperiod, duration of light, students? Some flowers need lot to bloom and some requires very less. Some bloom during the night, isn't it? So that is photoperiod. Affects the reproduction in seasonal breeders. Therefore, all living organisms are aware of their surroundings. Hence, consciousness is a defining property of living. We saw that cellular organization and consciousness, these are the only defining properties of living organism. Student, this was just lesson number 1 and only 1 article. Okay, now we will switch on to the, instead of wasting time, we will switch on to the next lesson. That is lesson number 2, systematics of living organisms. And in this, we are having only 2 articles, student, 2.13 and 2.14. So we'll take up one by one. Yeah, the 5 kingdom classification. What is this 5 kingdom classification? The 5 see, student, earlier there was only 2 kingdom classification. In that, all the living organisms were classified into 2 groups, one as kingdom Plantae and other as kingdom Animalia. Okay, later on what happened, this was finding that this 2 classification only, the 2 branches only, that is Plantae and Animalia, it was not sufficient, because they were organisms which were unicellular, they were organisms which are multicellular, they were organisms which are autotrophous, or which are heterotrophous, and which are omnivorous. Many such classifications were there. Some were photosynthetic, some were non-photosynthetic, some were prokaryotic, and some were eukaryotic. So it was not possible to classify all of them into 2 kingdoms only. Then Whitaker, then scientist, that is the botanist R.H. Whitaker, came up with the concept of 5 kingdom classification. Okay, so in this lesson we will be studying, or in this article we will be studying about the 5 different kingdoms. So what are these 5 kingdoms? Before that we proceed, I will let you know that Robert H. Whitaker in 1960 suggested first classification system, gained popularity. Organisms are placed in 5 kingdoms on the basis of these three characteristics. One was cell type, that is whether the cell is, whether the organism is prokaryotic or eukaryotic. Okay, now what is prokaryotic and eukaryotic? Prokaryotic means those which are having well-defined nuclear membrane and well-defined limiting membranes for all the cell organelles, whereas which are not having that. Okay, and eukaryotic means which are having all the proper nuclear membrane, all limiting membranes are there of all the cell organelles. So prokaryotic, very primitive one, they do not have any limiting membranes, whereas eukaryotic, these are the latest type or multicellular organism which are having the proper limiting membranes for their nucleus and for all other cell organelles present in the cell. So that cell type, whether it is primitive type, that is prokaryotic, or it is eukaryotic type. Okay. The next point, or the second point that it took into consideration, was the level of organization. Level of organization, that means that whether it was unicellular organism or it is a multicellular organism. Then whether it lived singly, that is solitary, or it lived in colonies, that is colonial. Okay, so that is level of organization. Third point was considered was nutritional type, that whether it was ingestive type, it was absorptive type, or it is photoautotropic, right? So these are the different 3 categories that was kept into in the mind, or the criteria that was kept into my mind while classifying the organism into 5 kingdoms. Okay, now the 5 kingdoms, first one is kingdom Monera, which contains all the prokaryotic organisms. I told you all are primitive type. Then comes kingdom Protista. Protista, these are eukaryotes. Unicellular organization is seen. They are either solitary cells or colonies of cells lacking true tissues. Then they were ingestive type, they were absorptive, or they were photoautotropic. So either of that. So kingdom Protista had these characteristics. Organisms placed under kingdom Protista shown these characteristics. Okay. Then kingdom Animalia contain multicellular animals with cell wall less eukaryotic and cell wall less eukaryotic organism, and they were ingestive. Okay, that means what? The kingdom Animalia, the cells of animals do not have cell wall. So it is mentioned cell wall less. Okay, there was no cell wall, but they were eukaryotic. Yeah. Then kingdom Plantae. In kingdom Plantae, they're all plants. It includes, they were multicellular and they had cell wall, and they were eukaryotic, and they were photoautotropic. Why photoautotropic? That because they could synthesize their own food with the help of, or by the process of photosynthesis. Yeah. Then comes the kingdom Fungi. They are also eukaryotic. They are multinucleate. That means number of nuclei are there. Then they are having septate. Mycelium. Mycelium is threads, like they're having filaments like. Septate means they are divided in between. The filament is divided in between, that is septate. Okay, and then they were absorptive type in nature. So these 5 briefly I have told you what was the characteristic of Monera, Protista, Animalia, Plantae, and Fungi. Whenever you study in the proper sequence only. Okay. Next, now organisms, how they are classified, we see. Prokaryotic, eukaryotic, that is primitive type, and then the other organisms other than primitive type, that is eukaryotic. Then prokaryotic, what comes? Monera comes under prokaryotic, and under eukaryotic, all other kingdoms come, like Protista, Plantae, Animalia, Fungi, etc. Right? Now further, in eukaryotic, there were again 2 types, unicellular and multicellular. Unicellular, Protista, example. Multicellular, again 2 types. One with cell wall, that is the plants, okay, Plantae, and the other one without cell wall, that is Animalia. Then with cell wall, again 2 types. They may be either phototropic or they may be heterotropic. Phototropic means they can synthesize their food. Heterotropic means they are dependent. Okay, so therefore these are absorptive type fungi. Then Plantae, here is the example. This is the example. Heterotropic example is a fungi. Okay, so these you can see. So like this, the organisms, they are classified. This is a flow chart like presentation for quick revision. Now, 5 kingdom classification system, all living things. Now in this you see Monera. Okay, Monera are prokaryotic bacteria. Just a brief information is given for quick revision for you all. Okay, Monera are prokaryotic bacteria. Some make us sick, but many more help us. So they are useful also and they are harmful also. They don't have a true nucleus. Why? Because they are prokaryotic. Not having true nucleus means they do not have the nucleus does not have a limiting membrane. Understood? Next comes the protista. Protists are usually small single-celled organism. Single-celled organism means what, student? Unicellular. Okay, that can contain qualities of both plants and animals together. Then comes the fungi. Fungi are not plant or animals, as many like to think. They are mushrooms, toadstools, and molds that grow on bread. They have a cell wall made up of chitin. Then comes the plants. We recognize plants because they're usually green in color. This is because they contain chlorophyll pigment to photosynthesize and therefore make their own food, and they are known as autotrophic. And plant cells, they do have a cell wall made up of cellulose. Okay. Then comes the animals. Animals can come in all shapes or forms, from humans to corals to snails to shark to sea anemones. Don't have a cell wall and are mostly mobile. That means they can move from one place to another. Okay, so that is the brief characteristics or unique features of these 5 kingdoms. Yes. Now see here the properties of these 5 kingdoms. How? See, the 5 kingdoms are mentioned here up, right? And here vertically the organization or the characteristic is mentioned. Now in Monera, what is the cell type? That what is cell type means whether it is prokaryotic or eukaryotic. So Monera alone we know prokaryotic, and remaining all they are eukaryotic. You should learn this chart, students. Okay, it will be easy for you to write the descriptive questions. Then what type of cell organization they have? Cell organization is whether they are unicellular or multicellular. So Monera and Protista are unicellular, and fungi, it is both uni and multicellular. Plantae and Animalia, they are multicellular and multicellular here. Then cell wall, it is present in most, it is absent, present in some and absent in others. Present, present, present. That means cell wall is present over here, but in case of Animalia, it is absent. Then nutritional class, that whether they are phototrophic, they are autotrophic, or they are heterotrophic, or they are chemotrophic. Chemotrophic means in the absence of light, food is prepared by the microorganisms like bacteria. Okay, and phototrophic means food or the process of photosynthesis taking place in the presence of light, right? So phototrophic, heterotrophic, or they can be chemoautotrophic also. Then protista, they are heterotrophic and phototrophic. Fungi, they are only heterotrophic. That means they are only dependent. Okay, and plants, they are phototrophic, and animals, they are heterotrophic. Then what is the mode of nutrition? That means whether they are absorptive type, it is ingestive type, or what type it is. Okay, so in Monera it is absorptive type. Here both you can see absorptive as well as ingestive. Student, you will think that why Protista is having both of Moneras also and of other higher kingdoms also. It is because it becomes the link, students. It becomes the link. Okay, so some organisms they are heterotrophic, and later on they some organisms they are phototrophic. They are forming somewhat that they form the link over here. Here absorptive and ingestive they are. Here plantae, they are absorptive. Animalia, they are ingestive. They only take in the food. Kingdom Monera. Example is bacteria. It occupies a complete kingdom in the hierarchy of living organisms. Habitat is omnipresent. That means it is found in all types of environment. Then it is unicellular, prokaryotic, absence of students. These characteristics you will have to learn all these characteristics. Okay. It is double-stranded, circular DNA, single chromosome is seen, and this is known as nucleoid. Okay, plasmids means what? They are the extra chromosomes which are present in these bacteria. Then cell wall is made up of polymer of sugar and amino acid. Peptidoglycan. Peptidoglycan. Okay, peptidoglycan. Right. Then mode of nutrition is autotrophic or heterotrophic. Then bacteria have wide range of variety. Also, many of them can survive in extreme environmental conditions. A large number of bacteria also live on other organisms as parasites. See, these are the different types of bacteria that you can see. They can be spherical, then they are known as focus. Then they can be rod shape, then they are known as bacillus. See, this is the rod shape. Okay. Then vibrium, that means they are comma shape. Then here you can see vibrio, comma shape they will be. Then spirillum, that means they can be in a spiral way, right? So that is known as the spirillum. So these are the different types of bacteria. You will be studying in practicals also. Then kingdom Monera includes Archaebacteria, Eubacteria, and Mycoplasma. Now we have to study these three in detail. Okay. Eubacteria includes cyanobacteria, chemosynthetic, and heterotrophic. That means eubacteria, also known as cyanobacteria, and they are actually chemosynthetic. That means in the absence of light, they can undergo the process of producing or synthesizing their own food, right? And heterotrophic, that means they are dependent. Yeah. Then comes the mycoplasma. Here, Archaebacteria, these can survive in harsh or extreme habitats, extremophiles, it is known as. If it is in, it can withstand the high salinity, then they are known as halophile. And if in extreme temperature, then they are known as thermophiles. These terminologies, these terms, you should know it. Yeah. Then the cell membrane is composed of lipids. The rigid cell wall provides shape and support to the Archaebacteria. Now see here, these are the Archaebacteria. Okay, this like this, how they look. This is eubacteria. We'll proceed to the next one. That is eubacteria. They are called true bacteria. They contain rigid cell wall made up of peptidoglycan. If motile, then they will have flagellum. Flagellum and cilia, if it is present in any organism, it is present on the outer surface of the body, okay, or the outer surface on the surface body, and they are helpful in locomotion. Clear? So flagellum is present, therefore they are motile. Only when flagellum is present, they are motile. Okay. Then cyanobacteria, it is also known as blue-green algae, BGA. It is abbreviated as BGA, that is blue-green algae. Then these are photosynthetic bacteria. They contain chlorophyll A and carotenoids. They may be unicellular, they may be colonial. I have told you the meaning now, students, whether they're unicellular, they're colonial, or what is their nutritive type, nutrition type, etc. So you should remember at every step whenever we use these words that yes, this is the characteristic of this particular organism. Filamentous, okay, colonial or filamentous, then freshwater, marine, or terrestrial they can be. Some of them have specialized heterocyst cells to perform nitrogen fixation. For example, nostoc and anabina. These are the example, 1, 1, 2, 2 examples wherever required I have given. So you have to learn those and you have to remember these examples when you write about cyanobacteria. Okay, heterocystoid cells. These are the special type of cells, students, which help to fix the nitrogen. They capture the nitrogen present in the atmosphere and they fix it and help the plant to grow properly. Okay, so that is, this work is done by heterocyst cells. An example in which we see all these things is nostoc and anabina, right? Next is chemosynthetic bacteria. Oxidize inorganic substances like nitrate, nitrite, ammonia, etc. And then they produce energy, what is known as adenosine triphosphate, ATP. And they help in recycling of nutrients. Example, Pseudomonas and Nitrobacter. Then heterotrophic bacteria are there. They are most abundant and act as decomposers. They are helpful in production of curd. That is, then these bacteria, they are known as lactobacilli. Antibiotic production is there. They are helpful, like for example, streptomyces, and fixing nitrogen in leguminous plants. That is azotobacter. It helps in fixing nitrogen in the leguminous plants. Some are pathogenic. They cause disease like cholera, and tuberculosis. Okay, so there I told you earlier in earlier slide that these bacteria, they may be useful or they may be harmful also. So if a question is asked that mention two useful bacteria or harmful bacteria, so you can take the points from this and you can write it down. Okay. Now, this is the mycoplasma, right? That is the smallest. It is the smallest pleuromorphic bacteria. What is pleuro, student? If in lower classes you have studied about the lungs, the membrane which envelops the lung is known as pleura. Okay, so we can understand that it is. They are often called as PPLO also, that is pleuropneumonia-like organism, because it resides in mucosa of upper respiratory tract. Okay, that is URT and urogenital tract of the human. They are ubiquitous in nature, that means they are found everywhere and they can survive without oxygen. Here, see, this is the structure of mycoplasma. These are supposed to be the smallest possible bacteria. Okay, mycoplasma contains cholesterol, that is lipid, which are present in the cell membrane. So we say their membrane is lipid made. Okay, the lipid is lipid. Its cell membrane consists of lipid. Then mostly they are pathogenic, that means they create problems or they are harmful and can be parasitic or saprotrophic, right? Then mycoplasma is a bridge between bacteria and virus. So here, now we will study about the protist. One minute, students. Yes, kingdom Protista. A protist is any organism that is neither a plant nor an animal or a fungus. Okay, so they show link. I just not told you that they show link between the prokaryotic and eukaryotic type, or with all eukaryotic kingdoms like plantae, fungi, and animalia. Okay, so these are the all single cell eukaryotes are placed under Protista. So they are unicellular. All of them, they are unicellular. So for example, plant-like protist, it is known as chrysophyte. Then protozoan, these are animal-like protists. Dinoflagellates are there, euglenoids are there, and slime molds are there. We will see this one by one. Okay. Now, chrysophyte, that means they are plant-like protists. They are also known as phytoplanktons. They are microscopic and they are photosynthetic. Example, you can take diatoms. See, these are the diatoms. They are glazy. They are also golden algae. See how they look. Okay, diatoms have left behind large amount of cell wall deposits in their habitat, which accumulated over billions of years, is referred to as diatomeous earth. Most of them are photosynthetic and are the chief producers in the ocean. Now, if you get an MCQ, which is the chief producer in the ocean, you will tell it is diatom. Okay, diatoms, because of that only it is referred as diatomeous earth. Yeah, because it has large amount of cell wall deposits is seen in the habitat where it is present. Yeah. Then comes protozoans. Their protozoans, they can be amoeboid, that means amoeba-like. They can be flagellated, that is they are having flagella. They can be ciliated, that means they are having cilia. Example is given here. See, Paramecium, Trypanosoma, Entamoeba here, right? And then sporozoans, for example, Plasmodium, which causes malaria. So this is about the animals like protists which lacks cell wall, right? So they can be four types: amoeboid, flagellated, ciliated, and sporozoans. You should know what is amoeboid, what is flagellated. Amoeboid, which are amoeba-like; flagellated, which are flagella; ciliated, which are cilia; and sporozoan, which, for example, Plasmodium. And what is their function here? That also you can mention. That example here, Plasmodium. And what does Plasmodium does? It causes malaria. Okay, and you have got example for each over here. One for amoeboid, Entamoeba histolytica is there, right? For flagellata, Trypanosoma is there, and for ciliated, it is Paramecium. Now see here, these are the different types. Entamoeba histolytica, trypanosoma is there, paramecium, then Plasmodium vivax, that is the malaria causing protozoan it is. Okay, so see how they appear. That is what is showing in this diagram. Right? Then dinoflagellates. See, dinoflagellates, when they are present in great number, they turn the sea into red color. Okay, see, they are having two flagellas, one which is vertical. See here, you can see, and other which is present in the groove. Okay, this shell, which is a very solid plates. These are okay. The cell wall has stiff cellulose plates on the outer surface, and they are having yellow, green, brown, blue, or red color pigments are present in their cell. So wherever they are present in large amount, they give a red or that particular appearance. You can see here in this diagram over here, see the sea color, how it is looking red because of the presence of the dinoflagellates. If you get notes on dinoflagellates, you will have to write these notes. Then comes euglenoids. Euglenoids means euglena. It is having this one flagella over here in the center. They have, sorry, two flagellas they're having, okay? A short and a long one. See, this is the short flagella here. You can see the origin over here, and one is longer one. They are photosynthetic in presence of sunlight, and when deprived of the sunlight, they behave like heterotrophs, okay? So euglenoids, they behave both photosynthetic also, and that is autotrophic also, and heterotrophic also. Then slime modes, see how they look here. These are fungi-like protists. They are from the group of myxomycetes. These are saprophytic protists. Okay, their spores possess true walls, and they are extremely resistant and survive for many years. That is Plasmodium slime molds. Then kingdom Plantae, we are going to study in detail by considering their size varies from herbs to tall trees. Okay, many autotrophs they are multicellular, their cell wall is made up of cellulose, and this we are going to study in next lesson, that is kingdom Plantae. This is just an introductory part that I'm giving you students. Okay, then fungi, again multicellular, they are eukaryotic, that is heterotrophic. Only the characteristics are mentioned over here. You have to go through it. All the characteristics, individual words, I have told you the meaning. Please read them properly, understand. If you have any doubt, you can contact me on my personal WhatsApp number. Okay, my WhatsApp number is there in the class group. Cell wall is made up of chitin. It is a polysaccharide or fungal cellulose. Okay, yeast is a unicellular fungus, and they reproduce asexually by the process of budding. Then these are the different types of fungi, how they are classified into phycomycetes, ascomycetes, basidomycetes, and gytromycetes. We will be studying in detail. Fungi can be useful also, and they can be harmful also. Right? So in details, we will be studying. In our practicals also, we will be studying in detail. Just learn the examples, one example for each. Kingdom Animalia, again, just for an introduction, I have kept it over here. We will be studying in detail as invertebrata and vertebrata. Okay. Then here acellular organisms, viruses, that is viroids. You can see here, this is the structure of a bacteriophage. The types of viruses, animal virus, right? They are having single strand or double DS means double strand RNA or double strand DNA, right? Then plant virus, virus that infect the plants, they are known as plant virus. And the virus that infect the bacteria are known as bacteriophages. This is the diagram of bacteriophage. Okay, in animals, foot and mouth diseases, swine flu, where they cause the problems. That is the virus create the problem. Swine flu is there. Okay, now you can see this coronavirus is also there. So these are, they affect the human beings. In humans, common cold, smallpox, mumps, AIDS, etc. So like where these viruses they affect, they create problem, that is mentioned over here. So in next class, we will be studying things in details. Okay, viroids, these are nothing but viroid. They have low molecular weight RNA and are smaller in size. Then infectious RNA strand. See, virus which lacks protein coating. Okay, virus which do not have a protein coat around it are known as viroids. Okay, and viruses, they are having characteristics of both living as well as non-living. Living characteristics, they are obligate parasites, right? They possess nucleic acid and protein. These are the characteristics which are present in living beings. So viruses, those viruses which are having these conditions or these characteristics, they are considered to be the living. Then they are also having non-living characteristics. Like these viruses, they can be crystallized also, and they metabolic activity. So they are considered to be non-living also. Therefore, we say that viruses are on the borderline of living and non-living, as they show the characteristics of both living and non-living. So you can give reason viruses are the borderline of living and non-living. Then you will have to write the characteristics of living beings here mentioned over here, and the characteristics of non-living. Like, I stop here. Any doubt you can ask me through WhatsApp. Okay. Thank you so much.